mic on. Is it recording now?
Yeah.
All right.
We just
Recording
next to it.
assignment 1. Part 1, background information. I'm 32 years old. I was born in Jacmel, Haiti. My current job is at Wayside. Racial identity is black. My ethnicity is Haitian. My nationality is Haitian. My gender is male. My sexual orientation is heterosexual. My religion is Christian and spiritual. Socioeconomic class is middle, low, or upper low. Physical, mental abilities, I'm able, I'm sane. Part 2, definitions. How do I define the following terms? Prejudice, I define as preconceived opinion. Bigotry is the execution of prejudice. Stereotype, I believe, is false ideas or images of a racial group. Discrimination is acting on prejudice and stereotype to limit the access of others. Racism are stereotypes and prejudice based on race. Individual racism, I would say, stereotypes and prejudice against an individual. Institutional racism is racism that we find within systems and institutions. White privilege, I would define as not having, the luxury of not having to know the suffering of other people. I don't know. Oppression is when people kind of oppress each other, to purposefully limit somebody from having access to whatever it is they want in life. Early experience and contact. So, when and how did I first learn that there were different racial ethnic groups in this country? So in 1986, when I first arrived here and started school and experiencing racism from peers, my older brother actually was involved in a fight in the school while I was in bilingual. I think it was in first grade. Okay, so when did I become aware of people being treated differently because of their racial background, and how did I learn this? Again, the racial fight in school, so according to my brothers, they were punished while the other white kids were not punished. So describing the first contact with a person of racial ethnic group different than my own, I really cannot remember when I first met someone different than myself. I can't remember the exact first time. So what was the racial and ethnic composition of my family? Okay, so my family is mixed, black and European. The neighborhood I grew up in was also mixed in Jacmel, with a black majority, and there's U.S. mixed. And in the U.S., it's mixed with white majority in every place that I've been. The elementary school I attended, the students were mixed, the teachers were white, the administrators were white. The junior high school and high school I attended, the students were mixed, the teachers were white, the administrators were white. My closest friend, while I was younger, they were mixed. As I got older, they increasingly became Haitian. My parents' friends were mixed and Haitian. For my mother, for my father, his friends were Haitian. My parents' co-workers were also Haitian. My primary service providers, like doctors, dentists, they were all white. My community service providers, like police officers, firefighters, town leaders, etc., they were all white. In Haiti, however, they were all black. My current experience and contact. So currently my family is still mixed. The neighborhood I live in is Greater Boston. I consider that to be a very mixed place as well, although mixed with pockets of segregation. The university I attend, I go to Simmons, and Simmons is mostly white. My closest friends are Haitian. My coworkers, they're mostly white. We have 2 Haitians and 2 Latina who work in home base. My primary service providers, my doctors, dentists, and whatnot, they're all white. My community service providers, police, fire, town leaders, and everything, they're mixed, but I'll say mostly white. In my workplace, we have 2 Latina, 3 Haitians, 3 males, 1 black female manager, 1 Latina executive. Why the gaps? I don't know. I'm guessing it's an outreach issue. I don't know. What makes you feel comfortable with people of different racial, ethnic background uncomfortable? I think what makes me feel comfortable with people of different ethnic backgrounds is just being curious about their background. That makes me comfortable. I like to learn about people and know how they think, what makes them think. What makes me uncomfortable is when the other person is uncomfortable with me for any reason. And it comes off in any way, whether it's, do you wash your hair, or, things that sound very ignorant. So talking about race, when was the first time I talked about race or diversity? I'd say in high school. I was involved in groups where we spoke about race and stuff a lot, because there were some racial fights and stuff in high school and the neighborhood I grew up in Somerville. In what context did these conversations happen again? Issues with police, issues in school with teachers and other peers, people forming gangs to protect themselves and whatnot. So these conversations happened, with other peers, with teachers, with police. How often would these conversations happen? These conversations would happen only when something happened, as they say, when shit hit the fan. That's when people would start to have these conversations. What feelings come up for me when I'm having these conversations? I have often felt that talks about racism got people angry, got people confused. It made people, how should I say, shameful, it seemed. And when, for me as a black person, I always found that I was the one talking and explaining blackness, that racism was only between black and white. Attitudes about contemporary racial issues. What do I think about the experience of people of color in this society? I believe people of color in this society, specifically black people, are an oppressed group. And I think they are perceived as being the bad people in society. They're the ones who people believe will do all the drugs, the crimes, and everything. So data documents that people of color are at a disadvantage in virtually every social indicator: employment, education, healthcare, housing, media, criminal justice, poverty, etc. How do you explain this inequality? I believe that people of color, black people especially, are at a disadvantage to all these things because America was never designed to include them. And so as America went on moving forward, I should say, as the world capitalist structure went on moving forward, these people were kind of left behind. Do I think there's been progress on racial issues? Yes, there's been progress on racial issues. We have civil rights stuff to look for, the past 60 years. There is growing focus on multiculturalism in the U.S. Do you think there is a need for this? Why not? I believe America has always been multicultural. I think the growing focus on multiculturalism is when we see people who are in these positions who were not expected to reach certain heights. For example, President Barack Obama. No one ever expected that a black man would be president, right? But now that he is, it's forcing us to talk about issues of race in this country, right? So, let me see. There is growing focus on multicultural. Yep, got that. What are your thoughts and opinions? What are my thoughts and opinions on immigration? I don't believe in borders. I believe people should be free to move wherever, anywhere, anytime they want to. Okay? Bilingual education. I went to bilingual education. I think it's very helpful. Racial profiling. I think racial profiling, I want to say profiling might be a natural thing of just people kind of looking for patterns, looking at each other. Racial profiling, how do I feel about that? It exists. I remember in Pittsfield, I got stopped 5 times in one little small town, just driving through it. 5 times. And it was interesting to see how each time there was a different reason by each officer. One would lie and say my headlight, my tail lamp or something was busted or not working. Another would say something else. So what the first one would say, the second one would never say or see. So which means that my headlights and tail lamps were never broken, but they were looking for an excuse to stop me. Crime. What do I think of crime? I think crime is caused because of capitalism. When people don't have something, they will do whatever they need to go out and get it. Public assistance, welfare is a good thing and it's needed. Welfare, I think, should give people more money that they need to, along with counseling and other stuff and supports to make sure that these people get out of needing welfare in the future and quickly. Affirmative action. For a long time, how have I felt about affirmative action? I often used to feel that affirmative action put me on the spot or singled me out and made me feel like different from other peers. For a very long time too, I used to feel that I was not qualified. For some reason, I had internalized that me sitting in a classroom with my peers, I was not qualified because in the back of my mind, I was being told I was there because of affirmative action. Reverse discrimination. I don't believe in such thing. There is no such thing as reverse discrimination. If I slap you and you slap me back, is that reverse conflict? You see what I mean? So I think what happens is that when people get in a position of power, they will often do to others what was done to them, right? So if you've been treated badly because you were a certain way, once you get in a position of power, you most likely will treat other people badly because of how you were treated. Okay. White privilege. White privilege is described as something that white folks have, being at the top of the mountain pretty much, where they don't have to worry about things that other folks have to worry about. Images of racial groups. Let's see. What person of color in the United States do I admire the most? I have never thought of one. I would say Cornel West. I don't know. I like his hair. And he seems cool. Name at least 2 white people, historical and current, who were anti-racist activists. Name at least 2 people of color, historical and current, who are anti-racist activists. Okay, so let me see. What is his name? The white guy. Is it John Brown? The one person in U.S. history who I remember took guns to fight off other white folks who were coming down to kind of hurt folks. And current, I would say someone white currently. The doctors, my white counterparts on Physicians for Haiti who are doing work in Haiti around medical education. They are white. I don't believe they are racist. I think the work they are doing is anti-racist. People of color today, there's Anika Nayala, who was a mentor of mine growing up. She currently does racism workshops in Smith College right now. So in my opinion, how would you describe the representation of following groups in the media? So whites, I believe, are described as being or represented as being the best in everything, right? They're always the ones solving the crimes. They're always the ones who is the head superhero. Blacks, I feel, are the very, very bottom of the totem pole. Latinos are shown as the folks who cook food that Americans like, salsa and all this other stuff, and do labor work. Asians are shown as the very smart folks on TV. Arabs, you see them only as terrorists. Native Americans, you only see them in movies like Dance of the Mohicans or Last of the Mohicans or Dancing with the Wolves, whatever it's called. For the groups listed above, how would you describe their representation in entertainment, media, movies? The same way I just described them. The same way we see them in society is the same way we see these folks in TV. There are many words used to describe different racial and ethnic groups. For the groups listed above, how many can you think of? What terms you usually use within your own racial group? Oh boy, I remember an assignment in a class where all the terms that they use to describe black people in Latin America, it was like 2 pages long, but I can't really remember. So for like white folks, we've heard of words like cracker, the man, right? For Latinos, we've heard of wetbacks, or what else do they say about Latino folks? Calling them Mexicans or illegal, or you're coming to take our jobs, or let me see. For black folks, we hear that they're lazy, Negroes, nigger, and all those other stuff. Arabs, towel heads, sand niggers, stuff like that, right? Native Americans, Indian givers, a whole bunch of stuff we could describe them. 2 to 5 stereotypes, so each, just did. Personal identity. Have I ever thought about my own race or skin color? Yes, I have thought about my skin color and my race before. What does it mean to me? For a long time, I used to think that something was wrong with my race or skin color. And then with history and education, learned that things are good. Do I usually think of myself in terms of race and ethnicity? No, not necessarily. I don't usually think of myself like that. What does it mean to be a person of your race in the United States? How has it impacted your life positively? I think to be black in the US means that you have to always be aware of what everyone around you is doing, even yourself. Sometimes you have to even try to think ahead of time what they're doing or thinking. How do I feel about members of my own racial group? A lot of times I feel very angry with black people. I feel like black people around the world are afraid of being successful. They're afraid of being powerful. Somewhere along the way, we were told that we can't. How often am I usually the only one in one of these settings? So at school, a lot of times in a lot of classes, I'm the one black person, right? At work, I'm the one black guy. There's one other black female coworker in the home base, and then one black manager in the Waltham office anyway. In social settings, how do I feel about members in my race in social settings? I would say, I don't know. I never thought of that one. In community settings, I often feel like the communities that we are in are run down and poor and whatnot. Social change. What would be the consequences of acting against racism with family, with friends, at school, at work? So if we did not fight against racism and fight for civil rights, I believe that I would not be sitting in this room with right now that I'm in, because it's not designated as like a white room or black room or whatever. I might still be a slave. My family, who knows? My family might be broken up. I might still be in Haiti. My friends definitely would be all black, all Haitian at school. I would not be in the schools that I went to anyway, because I'd be black and education was not made for black people, right? Do I currently challenge racism? I believe I do challenge racism. Like with the youth that I work, I try to be a model for them to always show respect to each other and to all kinds of people, regardless of how they look like or what ability or disability they have and whatever. Because I believe in peace. And that peace is not something we just think of, but it's something we have to do every day. Even though it makes us angry a lot of the times, because sometimes you feel like you want to slap someone or hit someone, but you have to remain peaceful. What are my feelings about changing racial demographics in the United States? One thing I'm very afraid of in the U.S. is the growing number of the conservative Latino mindset, because I believe as this group comes into power, because they are mostly coming from racist countries anyway, that when they come into power into the U.S., that they are going to be the new white people of America, right? And so because in their countries they believe that blacks are supposed to be a certain way, they're going to come and bring these ideals and ways of thinking back here. So that's the concern. That's the feelings I have about racial demographics in the U.S. I believe, like, my vision for the future is where we have an economic system that reflects the type of society we want to, like a cooperative economic system, where people share profits and share labor and share the rewards and everything. So, what was this interview answering these questions like for me? It's interesting because you don't always get the chance to think about these things. What questions surprised me? I would say the ones about my vision for the future and describing my racial group, or how I feel about my racial group and other racial groups. What questions did I find helpful? Well, I think they were all helpful, and yeah, because they're all important.